It's time for GarageBand Weekly here on Studio Live today. This is our weekly show all about GarageBand. And on this week's show, we got a new sound pack, sorta, in GarageBand. Apple have got a few troubles, big trouble in Big China in terms of supply chains of some of their devices. So we'll chat a little bit about that. We're going to talk about backing up because it's the backup season. Did you know that it's not Christmas time? It's backup time. And a very cool app that can help you if you're a guitarist looking to find chords. And we're going to talk a little more about that later in the show as well. But as we are each and every week, we are brought to you by the GarageBand FAQ, which is at studiolive today.com/GarageBand. You can jump on over there right now. I'm going to share my screen and show you what's there. I've gone to the wrong page. Look at that. This is what professionalism is. I'll join my mailing list later, but I put the wrong word in. Have I spelt it wrongly? Yeah, don't spell it GarageBand. Spell it Garage Band. It's my first day. What can I say? So if you jump on over there to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, you'll be able to check out my $10 GarageBand course. All of the playlists of the more than 1,000 video tutorials that we have all about GarageBand iOS and answers to all of the questions you may have over there. So please jump on in and check all of those out if you so desire. Why don't we jump into the news and notes before we say good day to folks who are here live? So the news, let's not bury the lead here. The big news news for GarageBand is we do have a new sound pack. It's here in the sound library. It is a remix session. Now, I know. The easy thing to do would be to say, where's our metal pack? Where's our banjo instrument? Where's our cool orchestral sounds GarageBand? Why do we need another remix session? My answer to that is that anything that gets more people creating in GarageBand is good. And this may not be for you, but you know what? You know what I like to say around here? It's okay to scroll past. Sometimes things are not for you. However, I actually like to play with this stuff because every time, I don't care if it's Katy Perry or 17 or Z, every time I see one of these new packs, I find something cool and new. And even if it's just using one of these sounds, some cool bass line or some sort of drum effect or something in there, I learn something every time. So again, you can take the easy route if you like. You can call me a GarageBand fanboy or an Apple synthesizer if you want to. But again, if there's one 14-year-old kid out there that's really into this artist and picks up an iPhone or an iPad and starts creating in GarageBand and then 10 years later is still creating because of this, I say that that's a win. So I thought I'd put that out there on Front Street. If you want to go and get it, it's available right now. You can download it on your iPad or your iPhone. The other thing I've been playing with, I've been kind of obsessed with this, and it's not specifically GarageBand related, but it is, it's artificial intelligence. And, tell me if you are as terrified as I am of AI, but it's pretty creepy. Obviously, there's the AI music. I know Jade Starr, who's here in the live show, has talked a lot and showed stuff about AI, artificial intelligence created music. We've had all of the AI photos and pictures and artwork that have been done lately. So all the, soft delusion? I can't remember the names of all these things. DistroKid have one. DistroKid have DistroPic, where you can create AI artwork, which is pretty cool. And the latest incarnation of this is AI text, and there's part of the open AI project called ChatGPT, and you can see here I've been playing with it today. I asked the question here, what's a good key signature for a metal song? And it gives you all this cool information. So some of it's like that, but there's creative things. So what I did earlier in the week is I said, write a song about how cool creating music in GarageBand is, and this is what the robots create. And I'm not sure if it's creating the same one as it did last time I put this exact prompt in there, but it's pretty cool. So we can create this in the studio, on my phone, making beats all alone with GarageBand. I can create songs that sound so great. GarageBand, it's the best app for making music. No need to adapt. Rhyming apt with adapt. Come on now. With its features so easy to use, my songs are on the rise. I can't lose. Yeah. So it's interesting. You can do other things. You can make it write articles. I'm a bit worried if my children get hold of this. We'll do this. Write an article about the history of Australian politics. Let's just say that my daughter has an assignment to write Like, how many kids are going to be just coming in here and getting their essays written for them by AI? I did actually consider just making it do the show today, just getting the AI to script my entire show, and that may sound funny and silly, but I'm actually considering that because it's done all the learning, and so I could write a YouTube description. In fact, let's try this right now. Let's try a YouTube description for this. So write the first sentence of a YouTube video description for the show GarageBand Weekly on Studio Live today. Let's see what if AI can write something better than me. Welcome to GarageBand Weekly on Studio Live today, where we explore the latest tips, tricks, and techniques for creating music in GarageBand and share the best new tracks from our community of musicians. I mean, yeah, we don't actually do that second part, but we sometimes do. Occasionally we'll play music from people. Yeah, it's a little bit scarifying. But again, someone was talking about this during the week, and they're like, it's like an average creator. So it's never going to be the best, it's never going to be the worst, but it's going to be somewhere in between. And does this spell the end for human society? I don't think so. I don't think we can replace a lot of the artistic flair that a human actually has. But my goodness, if it can write my descriptions for me and maybe do my YouTube tags and all of those automated tasks that I really hate doing, then I'm all on board. We'll say good day to the folks here who are here live, and then we'll talk a little bit about Apple and what's been going on with them in the last week. Hello to Jade Jar. Hello to Thomas Christ. G'day to Mars Capone. I hope you are doing well. My friend away from the keyboard, Psycho7. I haven't dared get the artist pack, so I'm self-conscious enough using GB loops over making my own samples. Yeah, and look, some people might not like using samples and loops, and that's okay too. Again, it's going to be horses for courses, isn't it? Yeah. Use it to write a song about religion. Yeah, that could be a bit dodgy. AI script. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to use it to script my shows in the future for sure. G'day, Rena here. Pete here, Rena. Fat Panda Cat. Hello to you. Hope you're doing well as well. Yeah, Starlink is Skynet. Yeah. It's taken us over. It's going for us. If you do have any questions, by the way, this is a Q&A show as well. So if you do have any questions about GarageBand or creating or AI and when the world's going to end, just throw the big Q or the word question in front of your question. I'd be happy to answer anything that you may have. And once again, as I've been saying on all my live shows in the last week, thank you to everyone for your kind well wishes. As you can hear by the voice, I'm only coughing and spluttering about once every half an hour now, which is a drastic improvement on this time last week. So I thank you everyone who has sent their well wishes. I am now well, and I wish you all the wealth as well. Health wealth, a lot more important than wealth, at least I believe so. Anyway, hello Scott Kid 64 Ultimate, sup to you. Thank you very much, appreciate you. Yeah, there's a lot of videos out there. I was looking through, and I've got over 2,000 videos on the channel now. We've been doing this show for nearly 3 years. We're up to show 145. Yeah, we're ticking along here. So what's Apple been up to? Well, there's a couple of challenges. I don't know if you know, but the country of China is where about 95% of all of Apple's products are not created, but manufactured. And iPhones in particular, there's a city in China that's literally nicknamed iPhone City because it's like there's tens of thousands of people there and they just create iPhones. So at the moment, they've got a few challenges because they have a zero COVID policy. So every time that there's a COVID case anywhere around the area, they lock everything down and they shut everything down. So, yeah, there's a problem. And here's the thing. Yeah, our iPhone 14 Pro Maxes that we all want to get our hands on are going to be more difficult to get our hands on for now. And the other part of this is that obviously Apple are at the mercy. They're a little bit stuck because most of their stuff's produced in China. They are starting to branch out and starting to produce in places like India and Vietnam and even in Brazil because there's some weird laws in Brazil that says that their phones have to be made there. Don't really understand that, but sure, why not? But yeah, they are kind of hamstrung by the fact that everything's at the moment made in China. And the problem is that the people that can afford the $2,000 for an iPhone 14 Pro Max are obviously on the other end of the spectrum from people who are working in near slave conditions in these factories in China creating them. So there's a bit of a wealth gap and a bit of a discrepancy there between the two. But again, as consumers, are we going to pay more? if it wasn't made in China, if you don't agree with China and their politics and we want it to be made somewhere else, does that somewhere else just become the new version of that? And as long as we're paying about half the wages that we'd pay a person doing it in Australia or the US, are we comfortable? Can we sleep at night on our bed of money with many beautiful women? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm not a political scientist, and I'm certainly not an expert in the field. But yeah, it's interesting to see that Apple are running into some challenges with creating their products because they just can't get enough of them made. The other challenge that Apple have had is they've started placing ads. You might have seen these in the App Store, and because Apple have been like the privacy people that have gone out and said we support privacy, we won't sell your data. Oh, except we'll put our ads in your stuff. We'll do first party stuff. So it's this kind of slippery slope, isn't it, between Apple are not giving your data to Russian gangsters who are going to then advertise your dodgy stuff, but at the same time, they are going to use your data to market things to you that they think you might like, which is starting to show up in things like the App Store. So whether you like that or not, it is here. And hey, Google, Facebook, every platform is doing it. Every company is doing it. There are smart TVs sold now that have built-in ads in the actual smart TV. They hook up to the internet and they're like playing ads in the background. So we've really reached the full advertising saturation around here, I think. Let's see. We've got a couple of questions coming on in. I'll grab those in just a moment. Fat Panda Cat said it might be good to do a David Bowie thing and cut out sentences of what the AI writes. Yeah, totally. That's exactly what I think this will be good for, is just ideas. So, for instance, with the AI stuff, I already wrote a song called Hold On, and I thought, I wonder if it can scrape the lyrics and it would tell me. So I asked it before. I said, write a song. Oh, that's the song about GarageBand. But prior to that, I said, write out the lyrics to the song Hold On by Pete Johns. But instead of writing out my lyrics, it made up a whole new song, which is actually pretty cool. Like, hold on, don't let go. You're stronger than you know. Hold on, keep fighting. You'll make it through the night. Ting. So yeah, there's some cool stuff there, and if it's just going to be a prompt for you and then you build on it, I think that can actually be kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe it's a slippery slope and maybe we're all doomed, but I don't know. All right. The last thing I wanted to talk about is that Patrick at the GarageBand Guide has a cool new video. So we always like to give Patrick some love when he has cool new videos. So GarageBand Guide, we'll jump on over and take a look. So he's got 3 powerful and free. There's that word free. By the way, if you're not a YouTuber, if you want to triple your views, just put the word free in there.
In this video, I'm going to...
Jade Star knows all about this. All you have to do is put the word free. I'm going to leave that freeze frame of Patrick like that because we love each other. But yeah, if you put the word free in there, you're going to get about 3 times as many views because people like free. But free iPad music production apps, they're all down here. It is. I won't spoil it there, but if you take a closer look, you'll see what they are. So there's some cool apps there that Patrick goes through. And look at that, Patrick is just under 10 million channel views all over, which is pretty cool for a bloke. For a bloke with no hair and a funny accent, which I can definitely relate to have nearly 10 million views on a channel is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, go over and check out Patrick's latest video. He always has some good stuff to say. Yeah, that's it. Just put free. Just put free in the title and people will come running. It's weird. You can put the best apps for 99 cents and people are like, 99 cents. And then you put like the best free apps and they're like, free, where do I sign up? I love free. All right. We'll answer a couple of questions and then we'll jump in and take a look at this new sound pack. So I'm going to try and do something fun with it because we can't actually play much of the sound because the new sound pack is copyrighted, so I can't actually use it in a commercial sense. So we'll have to be a little bit careful. Let's answer these questions. So, Rena here. Glad you're well, thank you. There are videos out there to help vocalize post-COVID, helping me. Oh, there you go. Generally, don't the artist pack generally let you know don't allow to release music with their plugins? Is this new? Yeah, so that's exactly what I was just saying, Rena. So the new one, the new pack from Zed, doesn't allow you to use it. And you'll see that when we jump into it in a moment, that it'll pop up a little thing saying, you can't use this, Sunshine, not in a commercial release. You can use it for your own devices. But we're gonna kind of tear it apart and play around with it today. So we're gonna have some fun with it. Lord Supreme said I did a remix of Katy Perry Harleys in Hawaii and called it Harleys in Dubai. I mixed all her vocals and threw in a trap beat and made another track I made, and it sounds great, but I can't share. Yeah, so I've talked about copyright and content ID and the slippery slope that is copyright when it comes to using samples and using other people's stuff. The simple answer is if you want to completely avoid content ID and copyright, don't use anyone else's anything ever. So don't sample anyone's audio, don't use anyone else's music in your music. However, remixing is cool. Remixing is a part of our musical culture, and you can get away with sharing it on some platforms sometimes. So I would recommend sharing on YouTube and testing the waters there. The worst thing that will generally happen, look, if you take someone's entire song and just post it on YouTube, you may get what's called a copyright strike. And that's bad. You don't want that. You get 3 strikes and you're literally out. They'll delete your YouTube channel and they'll kick you off the platform. So you don't want to do that. But for remixes, for using samples, what you'll generally find is you'll get a content match and you'll get a copyright claim. Now, copyright claims are actually okay because that's what the system's designed to do. And that just means that if you ever monetize that video, any money that is made through advertising revenue will go back to the original artist instead of going to you. There's another version of that if you do a cover song where you get to split it 50-50, which is a little bit more complicated. But in terms of if you use that Katy Perry sample in your track and it gets identified through YouTube as that Katy Perry track, which it probably will, then it'll just put a copyright claim on there. Now, if you're not monetizing that video anyway, it really doesn't matter. But if you are monetizing it, so if I do this, if I did a remix song, and this may happen today. So if I'm using this Z track, it may get identified and I may get a copyright claim, which means that any of the normal advertising revenue that I would get for you watching the show will go to Z. So, which I think is fair because you're using their music. So hopefully that makes sense, but it is a slippery slope. And in terms of releasing it to other platforms, Facebook is renowned. I tried to do my Your Music live show on Facebook yesterday. It didn't work because as soon as I started streaming other people's music, even with their permission, Facebook said, nah, shut her down. So Facebook's a bit challenging. Twitch is somewhere in between. They're working on better music management. And so if you're releasing through DistroKid out to Spotify, Apple Music, sampling is a really slippery slope. You generally need to get a license from the original creator, and that can be a challenging thing to do. So hopefully that gives you some ideas around there. Yeah, go public domain. Go find the public domain. Beat tape is a good pack. Yeah, there's some good pack. I've been thinking I want to do a tier list of all of the GarageBand sound packs and just go everything from like the dud tiers, and then like the C's, the B's, and the A's, because there's like things like the Prismatica and the Beat tape. There's actually some cool packs in there. And I was playing around the other day with the Bass Amp Boutique. There's some killer bass amp tones in there. So there's actually some good stuff in a lot of the sound packs, but yeah, there's so many of them now. You've kind of got to go digging. Oh, you can't screenshot your videos anymore. Is that right on YouTube? Let's do a live test of this, shall we? I can't do it on my iPad that you can see over here, but look, that is one way that a lot of people sample things, is that they will just screenshot a video. So let's just try this on. I'll do it on one of my songs. Maybe, yeah, it shouldn't be separate, should it? So if I just go Pete Johns, hold on. Oops, I can't spell. There it is. So if I'm playing this, what I should be able to do is scrape down from the top, hit the screen record button, and that should be recording and sampling that track. Let's stop that. Let's see what it's doing now. I mean, it's possible. There are some apps, so Netflix app, I believe, and Disney Plus and stuff, they don't. There's a special thing that's within the screen recorder that says it won't work if you do that. But let me just go to my photos and see if that actually worked to sampling this sound. Seems to be fine. So I don't know if it's particular songs. I don't know if that's the case, but yeah, if you're just using the YouTube app and you're sampling music, and again, please be wary of copyright. Don't go out stealing people's stuff without permission. It's never a great idea. But yeah, it looks like it's working, at least to me. Besides speaking about GarageBand, you can use it in commercial project. Apple license explicitly say so. So if you strike, you have right to counter it. Yes, and look, that's the case. Apple will tell you which GarageBand. So every GarageBand sample that they have and loop and sound library pack can be used, with the exception of Katy Perry, Zed, and I think there's one more that's in there. Is it the Mark Ronson one? Yeah, so it will tell you. It actually pops up and says you can't use this if you can't use this. So, yeah, just be wary of that. Ori, I've tagged your question. I'll come back to that in a moment. 1940s pack. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Yeah, with some like old school, like yeah, some funk and some like Christmas pack. Yeah, nice one. The only Australian-based channel I sometimes enter. Yeah, well, come and hang out. Australians are fun. Go check out Jade Star and other folks that do stuff. Mike from Creative Source. Although he doesn't sound Australian, does he? He sounds like a Brit, he does. He sounds all Brit. No, he's a good bloke. Go check out Mike at Creative Source. That's the news and notes and a couple of questions. Let's dive in to, well, I've still got some of the questions there. I've got one from Lord Supreme, I've got BBS, and I've got Ori. So I will come back and I'll grab your questions in just a moment after we do our feature topic, because we are 20 minutes in here. And I will return. I will swing back. Lady Gaga, there you go. Lady Gaga was the other one that has the session that you can't use. Well, you can use, but you can only use for personal stuff. Should we make some music? Let's do it. So let's dive in here and take a look at this pack. So there it is. It is Z. This track is Clarity featuring Foxes. To get to this one, all you need to do is go to your sound library, tap on that one. And then here, the reason all these say new for me is I just reset my GarageBand. If you missed last week's GarageBand Weekly, I showed you how to do a GarageBand reset. So if you're opening a project, you're getting that black screen of death, or you're getting corrupted projects, you might need to reset GarageBand. One of the downsides is you will get all these new stickers, even though stuff ain't new. So there you go. Let's jump in and check out Z, and we can open the pack. Now, the way this works, so it's a live loops grid. And the way it works is instead of it actually creating a live loops grid, it creates a project. So as soon as you hit open here, it'll say, would you like to close the sound library and reveal it in the document browser? Yes, I would. So we're going to hit the reveal and pop it out there. And there it is. So there's this project. What I recommend you do whenever you do something like this is usually do a duplicate first, just so that you're playing around with another version. So I'm not playing around with the original version. You can always re-download it and come back to it, but yeah, it's not worth it. Now, the one thing I'm not going to do, okay, here it is. Here's the little note. So this one says, this song is provided to GarageBand users in live loops format for personal use, blah, 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 blah. Basically, you can't use this in your commercial releases. You can play with it right now. I can kind of demo it based under fair use for you right now, but I'm going to do a couple of little things to protect myself. I'm not going to play the vocals of the track, and I'm going to change things up a little bit. So we're going to say okay to that. Now, if you've never used live loops before, heap of videos here on the channel. We're not going to go through a full live loops tutorial, but the way it works is you've got different rows here, and each of these rows, if we slide this out, each of these rows are a different thing. So there's the lead vocal, there's your BGs, your backing vocals, there's your drums, your bass, your keyboards, and your sound effects. Now you can play an entire column of each of these, and you can see down the bottom here we have all the columns. You've got intro, you've got verse, you've got pre-chorus, chorus, post-chorus, etc. And you can go all the way across to the very end of the song if we just drag. Don't do that. I'm trying not to play things, and then I end up playing things. There's a problem when you're using a mouse here. It's not exactly precise, and sometimes instead of dragging, like tapping and holding and dragging, you tap and it plays. So I just have to be careful about that. So what you can do to do this is hit the record button and start tapping in things and experimenting and playing with it. And you can remix the song, and you can have fun with it. And like I said at the opening, if you missed the start of the show, this isn't going to be for everyone, but it is a great learning tool. My daughters love playing with these because they're playing with songs that they know and artists that they know, and they're just experimenting and having fun with music. And it is teaching them about song structure. So it's teaching them what actually goes into an intro and a verse and a chorus, and how to build a song and how to actually build up an arrangement. So I actually think it's pretty darn cool. What are we going to do to change it? What do I recommend you do? For those that have been playing along at home for a while, whenever you're using loops or samples, change them up, chop them up, change them up. First thing we can do here is we can go to the settings here, and because all these are beat matched and pitch matched, we can change the beat, we can change the pitch. So let's first of all, this is at 128. Let's make this a little bit more intense. Let's actually bump this up. So you can either tap on each of these, or you can tap, hold, and drag. Let's go a little bit insane and put this up to like 160 as the tempo, just for fun. So we've upped the tempo there, and you can see here it's in F minor. The other thing I'd suggest you always do, is just change this up. So F minor, not a big fan of F minor. Let's bring this one down to D minor, shall we? So we've changed the key signature and we've changed the BPM. And that's just going to give us something a little bit different. Now, I've been playing around with this a little bit before, and there's a couple of things that I really dig here. I like some of these sound effects. We've got like a crash there, and we've got a nice stereo effect drum sound there. And I actually really like this bass riff. Now, again, this bass riff may get this claimed, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping if we just use it because we've changed the speed, because we've changed the pitch, hopefully it won't. But this bass riff sounds like this. And I actually think that sounds kind of punky. It kind of sounds like some, early 2000s, late 90s kind of punk sound. So we'll turn the volume up of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a little ditty here that's going to use this bass sound. And then I'm going to add in some of these drum effects. So let's hit the record button. Let's hit the drum, the bass. I'm going to hit this drum here, right at this point. Then stop it. All right, I've missed the spot there. That's okay. We can retry this because I wanted to then go to a different drum, to the beat of a different drum. So let's just remove that, delete there, and I deleted everything. Don't delete everything. Tap out, tap in, tap that, and delete. And I also want this one to go a little bit longer so that when it hits this part here, all right, now we want this to kick in with some drums. So we can go back to our live loops grid and we can get ourselves prepared. So we want that same bass riff, this one here, and we want to bring some drums in with it. So probably like something like this. No, that's not the one. We want this one. Nope, that's not the one either. Yeah, let's bring the little hi-hat in there just as a little bit extra. So again, we'll tap this. Just to tick it along, and then let's hit the drums hard here. And then we want to hit it with some drums. We'll just let this play out. I think we've got a little bit of a bass here, something to work on. So again, we've taken this song, and if you've heard the original song, it sounds kind of nothing like this. This is pretty different from the original song. It's very much a pop song, and I've tried to make it something a little bit dirtier and grungier here. So you might have noticed here that what you can do is move between your live loops grid and your track view. And this is something that a lot of folks sort of don't realize when you start playing around with this, that if you're used to track view, you can actually jump between the two. So if we jump over here to the track view, we can actually see this track being created. So we can now start playing around with this. Now, a couple of things I want to do. Again, I want to change this bass sound a little bit. It's a nice bass tone, but remember how earlier I mentioned that we had some cool sound packs here, like the Bass Amp Boutique? Well, what we can actually do is we can grab a bass sound here and we can use some different bass tones. So if we tap here on this bass tone and instead of going with the clean sound, let's go to a process sound and let's try some like filter funk. And what we can actually do is we can move this audio down to there. So we've got all this bass sound here. We want to move it down to there. So what I'm going to do is tap on, hold it, and just drag all this and pop it down here on this one. Did that move everything? Why did it not move the rest of it there? Well, let's just try and move it one by one. Boop, and this, that's better. Oh, it lost it. It lost its tail. It lost its loop. We're going to have to re-loop it out. That was weird. All right, so now let's take a listen to this through this filter funk bass sound. All right, so we can play around with that. Now, I don't know about this build up here, so I'm actually going to delete that build up, and I'm just going to go straight into these drums, because I reckon this drum sound's going to be better to go with. We'll just loop that out the rest of the way, and that way it'll just kick straight into this with these. Well, maybe I did like the build up. All right, I've got to go. I've changed my mind. I'm going back to the build-up. So there's a couple of things there. And then as you get down to here, you saw that I played around by just popping in a few of these different sort of effect sounds here. There you go. Yeah, I agree. The build-up was good, and we're gonna leave that one in there because I didn't mind that build-up. Sounded good. So what we can now do. So we've got a basses here, and yeah, we've used this. Technically, I can't use this, and we've talked about that before. But I'm going to grab a guitar. Here's one I prepared earlier. I've got my old Epiphone Les Paul here, and I want to create, because this is sounding more like a kind of punky rock track, so I want a bit of a punk sound in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add ourselves a guitar amp. We're going to go to a distorted tone, and let's just leave the glam rock on for now. I don't use the glam rock very often. So if we go here, we're going to go to input 2, which is where I've got my guitar plugged in. We are going to turn the monitoring on. All right, so I think we're going to be able to play some sort of cool lead riff over the top of this track. Oh, we've gone out the wrong way. So we'll go back to the track view here, and what we'll do, we'll use our dummy track method here so we can stay on here. If you're not familiar with the dummy track method, it's very cool. You just duplicate your track, you go into the amp here, and we change this one to be on input 1. This way we can basically, if you're using a 2-channel interface, you can record 2 different sounds on the track view screen without jumping out to that screen. So all we need to do now is set both of those to record, and we can record out here. So I don't think my guitar's very tuned, but we'll just try it out, and we'll have to throw the guitar tuner up if it doesn't work. Let's just noodle with some ideas on this, shall we? Yep, we're definitely going to need to tune this guitar. So this is a good opportunity to show you that we have a guitar tuner here. So yeah, here in GarageBand, you can actually tap on this button here, and you've got a built-in guitar tuner. And you can see exactly how out of tune, how flat my guitar was from sitting on the stand for who knows how long. Wow, that was so flat it thought it was a G flat. Don't you hate it when your G string goes all flat? Your G string, or as we call it here in Australia, a thong. That's a little better. All right, so we're tuned in, and we're going to come back to the track view here, and let's just play around with some tones now that we're actually in tune. I think we've got something that we can work with here. So. I reckon that's a cool little lead tone that we can work into here. So let's just try that again. So I reckon just from here. All right. Was that in the ballpark? Not really. So we'll just take the start off there and just play this back. And yes, guitar desperately needs a setup. The intonation on this thing is rough. As you heard there, I'm like hitting a note and it's like, ooh, she was flat, wasn't she? Yeah, not great. Lord Supreme, I've grabbed your question. I've tagged that one for later. And same with you, Mike Hannon. I've tagged your question for after we've done this little demo. So really what I wanted to prove with this is that we can start playing around and adding different sounds to this. Let's just, what's the chord progression of this one? Yeah, wow, that's really rough, isn't it? We're gonna have to find like the approximation of that. So let's just duplicate this out and just for one final bit of shits and giggles, we'll come in here and we'll throw on one of my favorite distorted tones in here, which is the Seattle sound because it sounds like Seattle, and we'll just try and record some bar chords in here to go along with this, shall we? It helps if you put your monitoring on. Can't actually hear anything without monitoring. Monitor on. Sounds just like Seattle, including the dodgy tuning. Come on. There we go. All right. Do you love it? Oh man! All right. Yeah, we'll experiment with that a little bit later because I don't think it was quite in the pocket, but. Not bad. Right? Yeah. Let's just put these guitar sounds up here and see if this is going to work up here. Yeah. So what I wanted to show with this is that you don't have to stick to the formula. You don't have to use these in the way that they're probably intended to be used because we use none of the vocals here. We just found a cool bass riff, some cool drums and effects, and then we processed them and we mixed them and then we added to them and we had some fun. So to me, that's what music is about a lot of the time. So hopefully you enjoyed that and you'll go and play around with these things yourself because there's plenty of sounds in there, and especially if you're kind of getting stuck and you don't know what to do, you know what? Load up your AI, use your chat GPT to write yourself some lyrics, and then use a live loop sample grid and create yourself a masterpiece. Or not. There you go. All right, let's go back. We've got some more questions, and then we've got another couple of little rants, and we've got our tip of the week and our plugin or app of the week that we'll talk about as well. Yeah, as long as you're having fun, you can't go wrong. Pete rocks, who knew? I used to rock back in the day, and occasionally I go back and try to play with a little bit more rock, but normally it's just myself and my acoustic guitar. Let's answer some questions. Hello, Lily Pillies. There you go. I need to start using all the stuff I haven't used before. There's so much, but under the hood, isn't there? There's absolutely a lot under the hood. Let's answer the questions. Hello, Baba, by the way. Hello, Mark Bro. Hello, other folks I haven't said g'day to. We'll go back to the Q&A here, so we'll fly through some of these. We've answered Lord Supreme's question from before. BBS says, GarageBand going to get an update for Mac? Yes, tomorrow. No idea. Not a clue, sorry. I know I answer the question in that way most weeks, but no, I've got no idea on the GarageBand updates. Unfortunately, they don't call me before they put the updates out generally, so I don't often know. But I'm hoping, because folks like Patrick have been waiting for a significant GarageBand Mac update for a long time. A lot of bug fixes, a lot of stability improvements. So it's very bug-free and stable, but not a whole lot in the way of new stuff in GarageBand. But GarageBand does a whole lot of stuff. Hello, Ori. Question. I've seen many GarageBand iOS producers with a vast collection of AUV3s. However, I can't seem to find that many other than the ones suggested by GarageBand. Tips on finding more. Yeah, so there's a couple of tips that I would have. The first one is to go to your YouTube and type in the words how to app on iOS. I just wrote how to app to iOS. That's a different thing. But if you write in how to app on iOS and go here, oh, you might need to put a Jade Star in there too. Who knew? There are obviously lots of very generic terms, but if you put Jade Star in there as well, you're going to find a lot of Jade Star stuff. So there's a heap of different apps, so all of the different effects, and what you can do is just go in here to one of the shows and then go over to Jade Star, and she's got some handy dandy playlists here that you can go and check out. So there's all of her music and stuff, but she's also got the How to App series, so 769 videos there of all of the How to App and all the different seasons. So you can go back through all of those and find all the different apps. One thing I think would be cool, maybe Jade, you could one day put like playlists of all, maybe AI can do this for you, but put playlists of like all the guitar apps, all the MIDI apps, all the vocal apps, all the drum apps. That'd be a cool thing to do. I wouldn't want to be the person having to separate your 700 plus shows and do that, but basically everything is there. So if you just search how to app on Jade Star AUV3 in particular, then there'll be a heap of there, Riffler, Sand, a heap of different plugins and all the AUV3s that you could want. I've also got a website, so if you're looking for free stuff, I've collated a list of all of the best free AUV3 plugins. So if you go to studiolive2day.com/freeau, it will bring you to this section here, and you can see these are all of the plugins that I use that I recommend that are 100% free. And some of the cool highlights of these: Tape Cassette 2 is a great sort of lo-fi tape emulation plugin. Tonebridge is an amazing guitar FX wider by Infected Mushroom, an excellent stereo widener plugin. You got Stereo Lag Time, which is a great stereo delay. You got Rough Rider 3, an amazing compressor. LRC5 and LRC7, probably the best EQs on the App Store, free or otherwise. Crunk V3, Nembrini's fabulous guitar amp sim. There's a heap of stuff. Magic Switch and Magic Dice, heap of stuff there. So check out Jade Star, how to app on iOS, and then go to studiolive2day.com/freeau, and you'll see my complete list of free AUV3 plugins. And hopefully that helps you improve your collection and get creating. Because, yeah, I was the same when I first started. Because you go to the App Store and you find these music apps, and some of them are like, oh, it's an awesome flute app. And then you're like, great, this doesn't connect to anything. This doesn't have inter-app audio. This doesn't have AV3. I can't use this in anything. Plus, it's like weird adware where I have to pay to it's like that, what do they call it? Freemium model. It's like you get one note on the flute for free. You want the other 11 notes of the scale? You have to pay us $9.99 per month. It's like, come on with the come on. So yeah, there's some options for you. There's a heap of cool AUV3 plugins out there. There you go. There is Jade's How to App on iOS channel if you're looking for it. Next question comes from Lord Supreme. What's the best method to share your music and not have anyone else steal it? Like thinking SoundCloud, how do I copyright my own music? I have very different views from a lot of folks on copyright. And a lot of folks that are regulars around here know what I'm about to say, but I'll say it anyway for the folks that are newer to the community. My view on copyright is to put everything out there and hide in plain sight. And by that I mean, if you get your stuff shared, you've got the original timestamp on it. It's going to be a very cheeky mother who's going to go out there and try and rip you off if you've already got it on a bunch of platforms. So what I recommend is, as soon as you've got a song, don't hide it. Don't keep it secret, because then you might show it to one or two people. One of those people's dodgy. They steal it. You've then got no proof that it was actually you that created it in the first place. What I say is put it on SoundCloud, put it on slaps.com, put it on YouTube, put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook, put it on every freaking free platform you can possibly find. Do a video. Put a video on YouTube of you playing the song, for goodness sake. Like, for me, it would be very difficult if someone wanted to rip off one of my songs. If someone's like, I actually wrote Work in Progress, I could be like, well, see, here's the 15-part series where I recorded how I wrote the lyrics, how I wrote the chord progression, how I recorded the demo, and then how I recorded, mixed, and mastered the whole song. So that's my answer to this. I think there's so much music in the world. Music is kind of ubiquitous these days that I think the risk of someone actually stealing your song and it being like a million record seller and you being on the street and someone else profiting from it. Look, it happens, but I think it's so rare. It's like worrying about that, those point one. It's like not walking down the street because you might get hit by lightning. Like, it's the same thing. Not putting your music out because you think someone might steal it is like worrying about getting hit by lightning when you're walking down the street. It's so unlikely to happen. And the other thing is, unlike lightning, which will probably finish you off, someone steals your song and they do good with it. Guess what? You are capable of writing an amazing song. You can probably write another one. Like, I know that Eminem said you only got one shot, but that's just BS. You don't got one shot. You've got unlimited retries. And if you're a good songwriter, guess what? You're going to write more good songs. It's not going to be that, I had that one hit and that was my one opportunity. You only got one shot and then it's over. So sorry to get a bit ranty on that one, but it's the way. And look, to answer your actual question, you want to go down the copyright route? Yeah, absolutely. You have to pay. In the US, you have to go to the copyright office. You have to submit your songs. You have to fill out the paperwork. And I think it's like 20 or 30 bucks. And then you can actually get a formal copyright. In most countries like Australia and the UK, you own the copyright. You don't have to formally copyright something. As soon as you create something, you own the copyright of it. It all comes down to the proof, though. And even if you apply for copyright, if you don't have the expensive lawyers that the other person does, sometimes you lose. And that's the reality of our capitalist society without getting too down on it. But hopefully that gave you a few things to think about along those lines. All right. Let's see if we've got any other questions. We've got a couple more. I've tagged yours, Bubba. I'll circle around to that one in just a moment. Mark says, copyright, distribution, and performance rights, metadata, there are different things. Don't get confused. Yeah, exactly. There's different things. There is, it's a long thing. I would go check out Damien Keys. He has some good stuff on PROs, performing rights organizations, copyright, so getting the formal copyright and distribution. They're all different. And it's all different depending where you live in the world. It's totally different. So you do have to look it up for your particular area. If you're in the US, there's a US Copyright Office you can formally copyright. You can join something like BMI or is it ASCAP, who do the performing rights management, and you can release your music, which doesn't actually have anything to do with copyright, but in many jurisdictions you therefore own that. It's a weird world. It's a slippery slope. As well. Mike Hannon, hello. I'm new to the writing and recording process. Question, how easy is it to write and record rockabilly music with GarageBand? Yeah, great question, Mike. It's really easy to record any sort of music. I guess GarageBand has a reputation for being an electronic music production platform, primarily because all the virtual instruments, or the majority of the virtual instruments that you have here in GarageBand, are based around electronic. Look, the old joke is that every pack you get on GarageBand is an 808. Like, how many more 808 packs do we need? And look, that's definitely the case. When you jump in here and say you go in and you're creating music, if you go into say using the Apple loops, so you come in here to your loop library, a lot of these loops are based, like a lot of the genres here are based on like your chill wave and dubstep and electro house, electronic. But look, there is some cool stuff. So there is like some country stuff here. So you'd be able to use like the brush train drum set. That could do like some cool stuff with some rockabilly. Got some mandolin. You could use something like that. So there are some sort of loops and things that you can use to create other sorts of music. If we go back to the genre and we go, there is some rock stuff, not a heap of it, but if you go to rock and blues, there's quite a bit of stuff in here. So you've got some like electric pianos, you've got some poppy acoustic guitars. You got your classic kind of live kit, drum kit, pretty cool. You got some heavier riffs. So in terms of using virtual instruments, it's possible, but there's limited what there. The good thing though is if you want to record any sort of live music, so if you've got a guitar you've got a heap of options in here. So if you're recording using a microphone, so you're plugging your microphone in, you can jump in here, you can go to the voice settings, you can turn lead vocals on, and you can make that sound however you want. You can add the slapback delay or some cool reverb and make it sound how you like there. The same with your guitars. You can just use either the built-in guitar amps here, so you've got a heap of different amp sims that you can use. So if you came in here and you went to your clean tones, there's a heap of cool clean tones that you have in here. Some jazz combo, 50s rock and roll. This amp would be great. An old sort of brownstone sort of amp, sorry, tweed amp. So there's a lot of different options you have there, and you can even use things like Tone Bridge, which is a very cool guitar app that you can actually add to your GarageBand, and then you can just throw in. So just pick your favorite rockabilly artist, find one of their songs, and put it into Tone Bridge. I can guarantee that some of those will be in there, and they'll have already pre-programmed those guitar tones to sound just like you want. So really possible to do, Mike. Jump in and just start experimenting, because whatever genre you want to play, I know folks who make metal, industrial, pop, funk, punk, like you name it, every genre can be created in GarageBand. Yes, a lot of kids are out there making their fly fire beats and in GarageBand, their trap beats and their chill wave and their trip hip dip hop. But a lot of us older blokes and blokettes are making the music we want to make. So get stuck into it. And if you want help, if you're a Facebook user, jump to the GarageBand users Facebook group. There's also the Create, Record, Release Facebook group, which has some great advice and interactions for creators. And you can even join the Discord of this particular channel at studiolivetoday.com/Discord. A heap of cool people around there that are going to help you out if you want it. All right. Tremor Bear says many of my songs are based on musical influence. They might sound like other songs, and that's cool. That's the thing. You do want to do that. You want to don't fear that your music's going to sound too much like someone else's music. It will, because I keep saying, in the Western scale, guess what? There's 12 notes. You can't invent new notes unless you're doing some microtonal stuff from other cultures. But yeah, there's 12 notes. That means that there's 12 different chords, basically. There's the minor and the major and the fifth and the seventh and the diminished. So you can experiment, you can play around, but at the end of the day, you're gonna sound like other music, because we're centuries, if not thousands of years into this whole music caper, and it's all gonna end up sounding like something else at the end of the day. Exactly. You can't, and that's the thing. You can't actually sound exactly like someone else. Like there's a reason that otherwise we'd all just replicate the Beatles, wouldn't we? If that was the problem, we'd all just write the next Hey Jude and just replicate the Beatles entirely, but it's not the case. So hopefully that gives you a few tips. Psycho7 says, do you ever play in drop D? I actually do. I used to love drop D tuning. And back in the day, in fact, there's one song that I've played recently. My song called New Beginning. So 2 song timbers ago, if you go Pete John's New Beginning, 2 song timbers ago, I wrote and recorded this track, and this one is actually in drop D, and it's one of the few tracks that I've written recently in drop D. And especially when it goes into its like punky bit at the end. Down here. This bit here, I had a lot of fun in drop D. Because you could do that 5th, 3rd open. Like, I love playing songs that have that, like, it's very cool. So, short answer is yes, but not as often as I probably should, because I do love me some drop D for sure. Question from Bubba. Hello, Bubba, one of our wonderful patrons over at studiolivetoday.com/Patreon. Question: I have a strange bug after moving to iOS 16 on my 5th gen iPad Pro 13-inch. The App Store will only open in portrait mode. Horizontal just crashes back to the main screen. Holy wowzers. That is super weird. I've not come across that particular one. You've managed to find yourself a very strange bug there, Bubba. I have not come across that one. When I open the App Store, I've got the 11-inch iPad from a few years ago, the 2020. Let me just open it here. Yeah, it's opening fine. That's weird. Now I'm gonna ask the questions. I'm sorry, this is not to be insulting, but the questions I ask when this sort of thing happens. First thing I want you to do is to close all your apps and turn it off and on. So I know it sounds very basic and you've probably already done it, and I'm sorry, but one of the best things to do when you're having these sort of problems is to close all your apps. So slide up from the bottom, hold yourself halfway there, let go, flick up, get rid of all your apps, turn it off, which is by holding the power button and the power up button until you get that little power off, slide that off, and then hold the power button on again and turn it back on. Sometimes there's just gremlins in there that live in your iPad, and then they go away when you do that. The other thing you can do that may help with this, especially if it's an App Store thing, is to log out of the App Store. So if you've loaded it up, log out of your iCloud account. So log completely out of your Apple account, sign out, and then sign back in. And again, sometimes that just refreshes things and says, oh, okay, you're good. The other thing is that 16.0 and even 16.1 had some pretty weird bugs and issues with them. So go into your settings and make sure that you're also updated to 16.1.2, I believe has just come out, but at least 16.1.1, because the early releases, 16.0, I had a user that I was chatting with, and they had real issues. Their Focusrite Scarlett interface was not showing any of their inputs. Turned out they were on 16.0 because they had a brand new iPad, and as soon as they went to the settings and went to the update and updated to 16.1.1, instantly fixed. So I would go into your settings and just make sure that you are indeed updated to the latest iPad OS, because iPad OS 16.0 was absolutely laden with bugs. First time I've heard about that particular one, but yeah, the 16.0 was absolutely laden with bugs. Not fun time. Righty. Let's see. I'll see if there's any other questions. If you do have another question, please just throw a big Q or question in front of your question, and I'll check it out. All been done. Others on Apple Forum have the same issue. It's not addressed. Wow. Okay. Hopefully 16.2 will fix it. That is a weird one though. That it's just that iPad and it just can only be in portrait mode. Makes no sense at all, does it? Some of these bugs are just weird. So yeah, I had assumed you'd done all that. Well, that was more for folks who are probably not as experienced with some of this troubleshooting stuff. But yeah, I wish you all the best, Bubba, because that sucks when you just get the weirdest bugs. And look, it's you don't victim blame on this stuff because it should be better. But it's why I say, and always will say, only update when you're ready to face some new issues. If you want some peace and serenity in your life and everything's working for you, sometimes you do have to go with the if it ain't broke. But yeah, it should work better, but sometimes it doesn't. But it'll get there eventually. They do tend to fix a lot of these things eventually, by and by. We're way running late here today because we had lots of great questions, which is all good. I was going to rant about AI and ask the question, are we all doomed? I don't think we are. Like, I actually think that AI, artificial intelligence, is just the next incarnation of what we've been through before. So we had the agricultural revolution, we had the industrial revolution, we have had the technological revolution, we've had arguably the internet revolution, which was sort of separate from technology because it's more the networked technology revolution. And now we're going to have the AI revolution. And what I think it'll do, yes, look, if I was a truck driver right now, I would be preparing for the fact that in 20 years' time, there will probably be a very different way that freight and cargo is transported around our various countries, because that is a repeatable and learnable task. Yes, you can argue about the ethics of it, and yes, you can argue about the safety, but guess what? A lot of crashes, a lot of carnage involving human truck drivers out there. And as much as you might go, well, one accident is not acceptable if it's a robot truck. Yeah, except what about the 10 accidents that would have happened if they were human truck drivers? Like, if we can prove that the safety is improved by using AI, why would we rage against that? Apart from the ethical, hey, they're gerbs, that side of things. Yeah, and look, if I'm a coder, am I worried now as well because of AI? You can actually tell AI to write code. It's to the point now where you're like, you don't have to know Python or know programming languages to actually be able to code something. You'd be able to say to AI very soon, create a web page for Studio Live today that lists all of Pete's top videos along the left-hand side, has a space in the middle that promotes his gear guide, and then on the right side has an archive of his blog posts for the last 6 years. And AI is going to be able to do that because guess what? Thousands of humans have done that over and over again. It's a repeatable task. It can be done. So I think that's where we're going with it. If I'm a musician, am I worried? No, only if I am worried that a machine. Have you heard some of the robot machine music and some of the songs? It ain't perfect, but your job may change in the future. You may go from being someone who creates everything from scratch to someone who generates something via AI and then tidies it up. Who knows? Maybe that's the next phase. We don't know. But again, look, there's always the fear factor, and there's always the I don't want things to change. I want things. Let's make something great again. We can't put the genie back in the bottle, so we can't go backwards. We can only go forwards, and I think we just have to be aware of what some of the challenges are going to be moving forwards. I asked I asked the AI to write a haiku. I'm going to try it again here. Oh, we got hockey coming up. The Rangers and the Blues. That's my warning to say, Johns, you're over talking. You got to go watch the hockey. But I actually asked it to write a haiku. I'm going to do it again just here for fun, just to finish this. This was kind of chilling before, but haikus are like the Japanese poem that have the 5-7-5. They don't have to rhyme, but they have syllables. So write a haiku about how artificial intelligence is dangerous, and it was very disturbing. AI's mind so unknown, its actions beyond our control. Danger lurks within. I mean, come on now, wowzers, disturbing. But you know what? It's fun. Yeah, Mozart never had and never used AI exactly. But it's here, and it will be. Let's see if there's any final questions before we do our last couple of bits. Everyone was yelling, "Rock me, Amadeus!" All right. I've answered Bubba's question. Cool. So we are all caught up on. We're all caught up on questions. Now let's so plug into the app of the week. In fact, I'm going to do two, because Jade Star's just reminded me of another one, and both of these are going to be just go watch Jade's, because we've run out of time. I'm not going to be able to demo either of these, but I'm going to send you over to there. So Chordify is something that I used ages ago and it wasn't that good, and then I watched Jade demo it yesterday, and it must be because I'm a giant self-absorbed person, and she played one of my songs and it chordified it really nicely. But I'm gonna have to go give it another try, because I use Ultimate Guitar, but what Chordify does is it actually uses probably some sort of algorithm, some sort of AI, and it listens to a song and it creates you a chord chart, which is really cool. Because a lot of songs, like these days, you go to Ultimate Guitar and it's like, oh, this artist won't let you have the chords to their song. But guess what? If it's on YouTube, you can use Chordify to actually get the chords for it. And the other thing that Jay's just reminded me of that I still haven't tried properly is that there's a new video editor in town. It's called Superimpose V, and it's a multi-track video editor that is, from what I can see, I'm not sure if it's quite up there with LumaFusion. Maybe. It sounds like it's getting there, because I think Jade said they've just added LUFs and the ability to use like some external plugins and stuff, which is pretty darn cool. But yeah, if you want something better than iMovie and you're not a LumaFusion user, I think Superimpose looks like a pretty darn good proposition. So there you go. Instead of actually half-heartedly showing you any apps this week, because we've run out of time, I'm just going to say go watch Jade Star's videos, because that's going to be easy. And I'm a lazy man who needs to go watch the hockey. Final thing I want to talk about here is, I did sort of allude to it at the start, but let's make December backup month, folks. I'm doing it right now. I'm going through the boring process of checking all the stuff I have on my iPad, my iPhone, my Mac, my PC, and making sure it's in at least two places. Because guess what? A backup is not a backup if you just copy it to an external drive and then delete it. Backups involve having things in two places. Now, those two places can be on your hard drive and on the cloud. Those two places can be an external USB drive and your internal drive. But a backup is only a backup if it is on two separate places. And as soon as you lose one of those places, you need to back it up again to have it on two separate places. So please, if you're a GarageBand creator and you have a whole pile of projects sitting on your Mac hard drive, you have a whole pile of projects sitting on your iPad or your iPhone, right now, or as soon as you possibly can, go to those and put them somewhere else. Just copy them and paste them. You can use a USB drive. I've got videos showing you how to do that on your iPhone or your iPad. Obviously, it's very easy on a Mac or a PC. You can use the cloud. There's a heap of storage options, folks. If you don't have enough iCloud Drive, guess what? Sign up for OneDrive from Microsoft. Sign up for Google Drive. Sign up for Dropbox. Just on the free plans, you're going to get yourself about 15 gig of total storage there. Sign up to mega.com. There's a heap of them out there. Box.com. There's a heap out there. Just sign up to the free plans. And yeah, you might have to sort of if you want to get away with it for free, you might have to scatter your stuff around a little bit. But it's so much better than losing it. And I promise you, between now and Christmas, I will get at least 5, if not 10 emails from very sad GarageBand creators who have lost a bunch of projects because they didn't back up. So please don't make me say I told you so. Please just go and back up all of your stuff and make sure that you have multiple copies of that. Bubba says, back when I was in the publishing business, I took a drive updates home offsite every day. Yeah, absolutely. Go and do that. We had the same sort of thing where we would have 2 locations. Like when there was only physical storage available, we would have to store it separately. So same sort of thing. There was a separate offsite building that would store a lot of our data and our records for things when I was working in the gambling industry, because you always had to go back to your records for the gambling industry. Big ass tapes, big Ampex, like massive chunkus tapes that were somewhere else. And yeah, the same with your storage. If you've got hard drive, I've actually got a hard drive at my dad's house, and he's got one at my house with our most important gear, because cloud services mess up and get corrupt sometimes, and you accidentally delete things. The same with physical storage. So yeah, take Bubba's advice too. If you can have an off-site storage or a cloud storage or both, then do that, because you do not want to lose your precious stuff. Exactly. Back up and then back up your backup and then get a backup of your backup. Rena's all over it. She's already backed up the other day. Alrighty. That is going to do it for this one. Do we have any Rock and Ronnie Ward? I always forget to tell you folks to go watch Ron Ward. But is he coming up here today? He's coming up at 11:30, folks. Yep. What is he doing? Send your requests live. So you can go and check out Rock and Ronnie Ward with your favorite VJ. Here you go. I'll throw the link here in the chat so you can check it out there. And don't forget that we'll be back again later in the week. We've got another big weekend. We've got, of course, the happy hour. We've got Your Music Live. We've got GarageBand Weekly all happening again next week. And we'll be doing another Ask Me Anything later in the week as well. I won't be around as much this week because it's the Test cricket here in Adelaide. So from Thursday through to Monday, I'll also be at the cricket in the evenings because it's a do-night cricket match. So a lot of fun things going along here, and the weather's actually nice again now too. So I'll be getting out into nature. I'll be getting away from all the evil robots and the AI and getting out there into nature as well. Thanks everyone for being here. Please, until next time, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, keep creating, and I'll see you next time here on GarageBand Weekly.